Hello and welcome back to Disney Journey. As always, I'm retired Imagineer Jim Shull, and on this episode, we're going to head west. Well, actually, southeast, but you'll understand what I mean in a moment, because we're going to talk about Frontierland at the Magic Kingdom and the announcement that they're going to get not a Cars Land, but a Cars Rides. What it means and how it may result in that land's name changing on this episode. Walt's Anaheim Park was always going to have a land about the Old West, even if the land's name took a while to be settled. Walking by the Main Street station, standing there in front of the castle, and then strolling into Frontierland, I am reminded why it's so appealing. It was just quaint, something very much of its time. Very rustic, very appealing, very welcoming. Cool, although there are a few guns. I guess, those ducks do need to be protected. Given its popularity, it was a natural that Frontierland would move east to become part of the new Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, there in the rivers of America. It was baked in my DNA to reach Frontierland, going first past the Main Street station, down to the hub. But it wasn't there. No, it was beyond the hub, beyond Liberty Square, which I guess was sort of frontier-y. But when I finally got to Frontierland, it was very different from Anaheim's. It was a mix of elements and styles celebrating the West, the frontier. No ducks in this version, but there were bears. But the bears weren't enough, and soon it was announced that there'd be an expansion, a major expansion of Frontierland, giving it a major e-ticket set of attractions, unlike anything the Disney company had ever done before. This was going to be Thunder Mesa. And Thunder Mesa was in work for many years there in Glendale, California, at the home of WDI, Disney Imagineering as we know it. Models were created, artwork was done, plans were made, and this was truly going to be epic because it wasn't going to be a single ride. Oh no, this was going to be a complete collection of rides. And not just rides, but walkthroughs, entertainment, restaurants. It was something that was going to set Disney World apart from anything else that WDI had ever done. Mark Davis was the creative engine for this project, overseeing all of the elements, working from these offices in Glendale, California. Today, the home of Disney Imagineering, but back in the day, it had a lot of different identities. The buildings were acquired from Glamour Girl Cosmetic. There was a relish factory, even a coffin factory. The glamour. Today, it's still a nondescript building. Only recently, within the last decade, did the building even get an identification that indeed Walt Disney Imagineering operated out of these kind of otherwise nondescript buildings. Mark Davis and the project team started to really drill down to develop the ideas. They did sketches, from those came models, more sketches, more models, highly detailed models. These were half-inch to the foot, which is incredibly detailed. They're plaster. Those figures are plaster and their wire armatures inside for strength. This elevation shows just how grand this was going to be and fun. It was going to be a Broadway musical boat ride. The project encountered problems, and it was not to be. Not in that form. So for years, the land was vacant until another idea was pursued. Breaking off a piece of Thunder Mesa, the Thunder Mountain Railroad was conceived and built. The first there in Florida, and the second, third, fourth rolled around to all the other Disney parks worldwide. These images show the structure, how it was built, starting at the top with paint, and there at the bottom, they're still putting in wire frame. Cage work, as we call it. It occupied an area in Frontierland, really drawing guests to a far corner of the park and delivering a thrill ride located there on the banks of the rivers of America. With the addition of Thunder Mountain, Frontierland as a place was complete, although it would get more. I put on my Imagineering cap to address the truck in the room. With the advent of cars, or Cars something, coming into Frontierland, I want to talk for a moment about what that means for that land and how it may result in a name change. The Disney company's released artwork portends a major change to what we know as Frontierland, with the addition of the Cars franchise. This off-road rally ride it really would look like it's a lot of fun. And there it was, back behind Thunder Mountain. Frontierland site in Orlando doesn't provide as much land for cars as the space in Anaheim. 175,000 square feet sounds like a lot, but look at Anaheim and compare the two. Look at how much land Anaheim's version of Cars Land occupies. Big difference. So it is safe to say that whatever Orlando receives, it won't be what we have in Cars Land in Disney California Adventure, because there simply isn't the room. Regardless of the thematic fitting, there isn't the room. And that means there won't be a Radiator Springs or a Route 66 or an Ornament Valley. There won't be those things because they have to use the land differently. It could be just as good a land use, but it definitely will be a different land use. And certainly a trackless ride vehicle that's uncovered in the Florida heat and the rain is an immediate no-go. Imagine getting traction on that ride vehicle when it's pouring buckets. And even Mater's. Mater's is fun, but not down the street, but one park over at Disney Hollywood Studios. They have another ride using this same ride system, which leads me to conclude you won't be seeing Mater's, at least not in this form, in the Cars area in the Magic Kingdom. The project team in Florida faces a lot of blinking yellow lights to deliver Cars. Cars have appeared in other parks in other forms, and I know because I designed the very first Cars ride that was built for Disney Studios there in Paris. Beautiful Mont de Valais, home of Turnip Patches, got their version of Radiator Springs. Small, but it was just one ride in all of Toon Studios, so it didn't really matter. And it actually worked really well. Working with a standard Zamperla demolition derby ride, we customized the heck out of it and created not just one ride, but two that were interlocked. We had what we called a whole study on consensual versus non-consensual touching, which is the reason why all of the vehicles have those enormous fins. You could reach out, but you really couldn't touch anyone, not in another vehicle. And it was successful, really successful. And it proved that Cars, well, it had wheels. And Frontierland, that is the story of the Old West, has also been expressed in different forms. In Hong Kong, Grizzly Gulch is their substitution for Frontierland, in an area that I don't call the Old West, but actually it's the New West. More of a movie set West. And that is because the local guests don't have a frame of reference to the American West of the 1880s. Moving on then to Tokyo Disneyland, they have their version as well, but it's not Frontierland, it's Westernland. As in Hong Kong, the local Japanese got their references to the American West from the Hollywood movies, so this is not the real West, but a movie West. Thus, looking at what we know, what will this be? Well, there are ways to organize land principles. Land organization can be done on principles of story, culture, or time. Frontierland, when it was opened, was set in the 1880s. But over time, it started to shift. The time shifted, especially with the addition of Bayou Adventure, which brought it into the 1920s. With cars set in the 1960s, now this area moves into becoming a Western land. It's a new principle based on region, not on time. But it's a catch-all because a Western land is much more malleable. We shall see what's next for Frontierland. Well, our road trip is over, and there'll be another one real soon. So while I'm over here refilling the tank, I want to thank you for subscribing to my channel, and also for hitting the bell notification button to be notified of my next episode. And also, I really appreciate all of your comments because I do read everyone. So until the next time, for now, it's goodbye from Lost Canyon.